guys, so welcome back to Lex Reads. So, in the honor of the show The Gilded Age on HBO/Max coming back this year finally, I wanted to do a list of books. Basically, if you like that show, these are some books that you would like because it's during that, time era during the Reconstruction age, and then all the authors are black. Majority women. During that time, there was a lot more than what you would think they were. But they just weren't highlight and showcase. And we already know why. But I have some really good picks for you guys. I also have them kind of like in categories. So I have some YA, I have some nonfiction, regular, fiction, and then some historical fiction. Before we get started, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. So while I was doing my research, I wanted to know like the time period during, the Gilded Age, Reconstruction age. So it says it's the late 19th century, refers to the years between 1875 and 1900, according to some historical sources. This period is often associated with the Gilded Age. So that's the Reconstruction time. And then for the Gilded Age, the show, it says the years of the 1800s in New York City. So the first season it enters 1882. First book I don't have, but I do want to get. It's called Saving Savannah by Tanya Bolden. And this is a YA. It says the story of an African American girl becomes a woman on her own terms against the backdrop of widespread social changes in the early 1900s America. As a daughter of an upper class African American family in Washington, D.C., Savannah is lucky. Feeling suffocated by the structure of society, Savannah meets a working class girl named Neil, who introduces her to a suffrage and socialist movement, inspiring her to fight for change. So that sounds really, really good. I love the cover too. And then another book that I want to get from her and also read is called Inventing Victoria. It's also such a pretty cover. And this is post-Reconstruction America and an intimate portrait of a determined young woman who dares to seize the opportunities of a lifetime. As a Black woman in 1800 Savannah, Essie dreams very much of odds with her reality. Ashamed of her beginnings, but unwilling to accept the path currently available to her, Essie is trapped between the life she has and the life she wants. That also sounds good. So yeah, these are the two that I have not read, but I do want to get. The next book is the Who What Where series. I really, really love these. I actually collect these. This is What Was Reconstruction. This, I absolutely love these. And although these are for children, y'all, they spit the facts. One thing I also love that they have real pictures. It literally tells a story of the Reconstruction from the Black perspective and how newly freed enslaves, how they're able to move, north and start all these businesses. During the Reconstruction age, we had businesses, y'all. We were pharmacists, we were entrepreneurs, we were doctors, we were attorneys. I mean, girl, the list goes on and on. It was really a booming time for African Americans. Okay, and then the last books for YA would, of course, be the Davenports. Oh, the Davenports. So this is the first one. And then this one is the second one, the Davenports More Than This. I would have to say, I like this one better. This one was good. This one I would give like a 4 star. This one I give a 3 star. You did get closure. That's one thing I liked about it. This is the first time I ever read historical fiction through a YA lens and really, really did enjoy it. This is actually inspired by C.R. Patterson's family. He was the first Black man to own a carriage company. This really does embody, I would say, the Gilded Age, even though this is a little bit later. It's like in the 1900s, but the first scene of this book, you have the young girl Olivia. She is in a dress shop and they have money, right? So of course, that the salesperson is looking like, okay, girl, you need to get out of here. And Olivia knows that she's playing them games. So she literally buys like so much of these scarves and garments. And when another lady comes up and like introduces herself to Olivia, talks about her family, she's just so like, because she realizes that the Davenports is a very prominent family. I love, love, love that scene. So this you have the Davenport family. They have two daughters and a son. And there is a young woman named Amy Rose who is the maid, and she grew up with the girls. They're like sisters. But Amy Rose and the brother, John, I believe, they like each other. But of course, since she is the help, it's kind of like, oh. That's not a good look, basically. You have Olivia's friend, and then you have Olivia's friend Ruby on each other since they were, little girls, and she likes John, but John don't like her, and she's in, the position to get married now and start a family. She's in society, so yes, really love it. The second book, it picks up where the first book left off. So yeah, I would really recommend these. I love these so much, and the covers are so pretty. That is it for the YA. Now let's go to some fiction. First is this anthology. It's called Daughters of a Nation, a Black suffrage historical romance anthology. Oh, you guys, you have one, two, three, you have four stories by historical fiction writers, romance historical fiction writers, and it is set, during that time. One story that I really do want to read is probably the first one. It's called In the Morning Sun by Lena Hart. And it says, with the election of 1868 underway, Madeline's mission is clear: educate and enlist the freedom of Nebraska to vote. But when Union veteran James comes back into her life, Madeline must choose either him or the future they always wanted, or the change to shape a great nation. That sounds really, really good. The only author that I have read from this collection is Piper Hughley, and I do know of Alyssa Cole. Next is a historical fiction book, and it is called American Daughters by Piper Hughley. And this is talking about Booker T. Washington and Theodore Roosevelt's daughters. They were friends. And even though when Theodore Roosevelt was president, it wasn't during Reconstruction time. What's his name? The racist guy. Andrew Johnson. That's the president. He was real racist, y'all. But he was like during that time, McKinley was assassinated. Then obviously Teddy Roosevelt became president, which was a great thing. But yeah, they were friends. They were friends, and Alice was, y'all, she was a mess in the White House. She did up some stuff, y'all. She would smoke on the roof, and at one point she was banned from the White House. She did some stuff. T. Washington's daughter, Portia, she is a pianist, and she wants to go, abroad and study, what she has, but she like really wants to do that, and he lets her. But his thing is, you need to get married, have kids, start a family, and things of that nature. And y'all know Booker T. Washington's stance was way different than um, W. Du Bois. Booker T. was like, you need to get a certificate. You know what I mean? Culture, okay, whatever. When I found out that he let her pursue music, and she literally went around the world to do that, and she did teach at Tuskegee, but it was like for music. I found that kind of interesting because I'm like, his whole thing was, again, like I said, get a certificate. This I really did enjoy. You got into perspectives of the, women and their livelihood, and also their friendship, because a lot of people don't know that they were friends. They were really good friends. Okay. Next is Frances E.W. Harper, and this is Lola Leroy. It was first published in 1892. As it was probably the best-selling novel by an African American and during that time. I have not read this. This has been on my list, y'all. I actually want to get the Penguin Classic Edition one. Y'all know me. Because this, I don't like the way this reads. Like, yeah, no, I can't. Look at this. Like, look at this. I can't read that. She wrote fiction. She wrote poetry. She wrote critical analysis. She was also an activist too. So she was big during that time. Lastly, for the fiction, we have the portable Charles W. Chestnut. It has some essays. It has some short stories, and it has one of his novels called The Marrow of Tradition. They said he was the first African American novelist to achieve national critical acclaim. And if you also look at Charles W. Chestnut, he don't look like a black man, but he was, and that was one thing they said during his time. People would always like, say the fact that he could pass for white and he chose not to. But if you kind of look at some of them later pictures, you can kind of tell in his facial expressions, okay, he one of us. With us, we know our people. And he is known for The Conjure Woman that actually came out in 1899. The wife of his youth, and other stories of a color line that came out in 1899. Okay, next is IDB Wells, The Light of Truth. On one article I read, they did say that Peggy is inspired by IDB Wells. As IDB Wells, she was a journalist. She had the anti-lynching crusade that she led, and wrote about, and she's the one that really exposed like the horror when it came to, lynching. Light of the Truth, this is her early writings, her anti-lynching articles from her travel abroad and her late journalism. You guys know in the show, Peggy, she wrote for the she wrote with what, Mr. Fortune, which Mr. Fortune, he is a real man. The guy, he wrote obviously for the newspaper, but then he edited one of Booker T. Washington's book. Okay. Next is a portable Anna Julia Cooper. He was known as like one of the first, like feminists. She was big in the suffrage movement. He is known for a piece called A Voice of the South, and she wrote poetry. She mainly wrote critical analysis, nonfiction, things of that nature. She was really big on education with Black women. That was her major thing. Y'all need to get educated, okay? Have some form of education. She really did pursue that. Of course, had to have Up from Slavery by Booker T. Washington. And also in the first, was it the first season? The first or second? No, the second season, Booker T. Washington did make an appearance in the Gilded Age. That's when Peggy and Mr. Fortune, they went down to Tuskegee to do newspaper talking about the Tuskegee Institution and how it was built, and the courses and things that they had. Okay, next is W. Du Bois, Souls of Black Folks, 1903. As know, this is one of his well-known pieces. It talks about race, it talks about the importance of, Blacks having culture, in their day-to-day life. And I see both stance when it comes to Booker T. Washington and when it comes to Du Bois. I'm more lenient towards Du Bois because I know that having culture in your life does help. Prime example for me, I was never a student, y'all. Never a student, okay? Repeated the first grade and everything. But my aunt was really big on development. And, she put my sister and I into ballet, into piano. We, went to museums every weekend. Her topic conversations, it was always faith, and then she also had like a educational, tie to it because she was a teacher. But that really did help me. It really did develop me because I knew a lot of those, things. I remember going one summer, we went to Mackinac Island, and we went to the Kennedy summer house in Newport. And then at one point, which now I could like kick myself because I didn't know the importance, but we actually took a tour of the Vanderbilt house. Oh, I said, if I could see that now as an adult, oh my goodness. But as a kid, it was like, okay, a big house, you know what I mean? But see W. Du Bois's point when it comes to that. Okay. And then the last book that I always highlight, I always tell you guys about is the Portable 19th Century African American Writers. This is what I was talking about when there's more Black women writers than, we think they are during that time. But like I said, they were not highlighted. You only had a certain people like, Frances, like IDB Wells. And this has everything from children's stories, it has critical analysis, it has poetry, it has fiction, and it starts, and this ranges from 1832 all the way to the 1900s. This always would highly recommend. This is something that you should have in your collection. So worthwhile, you guys. And like I said, it has everything, and you learn about so many Black women authors during that time, during the 19th century. Always talk about this book. I always recommend you guys get this. Every book that I talk about, I'll put down below in the description box. But yeah, guys, that is it when it comes to this video. I'm so excited. Today's Sunday, which means a new episode of The Gilded Age. Oh, loving it. Really liking this season. Really liking the episodes. And tonight, it's the night we go meet the Blacks, some more Blacks. I am super excited about because we go see even more Black elites. That's one thing I love about this show, y'all. I would have to say, especially when when comes to the Blacks, we always just think of like slavery, And although that was a big chunk of our history, we cannot belittle that. But after slavery, y'all, after 1865, again, we went up north, we started our businesses, we became lawyers, doctors, entrepreneurs, dentists, pharmacists, all of that, and we thrived during that time. And to see that on screen, and to see a family like the Scots, you know what I mean, like, she comes from privilege. I'm so excited for tonight. I already got everything ready, y'all, the house clean. So Yes, but let me stop yapping. Let me get ready. And yeah, guys, that's all I have for you. And I'll be back with more Black books.